as you're going through this journey and you've stepped over that starting line, you're heading in towards your new goals, you're heading towards what you want out of life, you might be asking yourself, when does the fear of relapsing, for a better word, when does that stop? When are you free from that? So I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Today's question is, when does the fear of relapse stop? When do you get over that period when you sort of keep thinking to yourself, can I do this? Am I all right doing this? I don't really like the word relapse, right, from the beginning, because it's just one of those words that I associate personally with Alcoholics Anonymous and all the old bullshit about quitting drinking, that once you're an alcoholic you're always an alcoholic, and you have to live a sober life, all that bullshit. It's like that all those words just keep you firmly glued to your old lifestyle, to your old drinking habits, and that's basically all they are, regardless of how far forward you are in your drinking life. If you are a person that drinks a bottle of wine a day, or you drink too much at the weekend, you're a binge drinker at the weekend and you want to stop that, or you get up every day and you drink, this is just another sort of a progression along whatever scale you're doing, and it's a personal thing. It all depends on your lifestyle, it all depends on what got you to where you are now. But at the end of the day, you are where you are now, and there's nothing you can do about it, right? So, keeping those words like addiction, like alcoholic, like sober life, I'm living the sober life. Saying to yourself over and over again that the alcohol is talking to me, and speaking in words like relapse, I just think they add an unnecessary roadblock in your way, right? And if you don't change that language, it's going to be an ever-present and roadblock throughout your life. There's certain people who are that ingrained into these beliefs about alcoholism and their own disease that they sort of wear it like a badge of honor, that they are an alcoholic and they haven't touched a drop of alcohol in 10 years or 15 years. But it's only by the grace of God that I've got to this point, right? One drink is all it takes and I'm back there again. If that's the way you want to do things, I'm not the right person to be listening to, because I'm going to try and stuff up all that thinking, because I don't believe that it's conducive to living a good life at all. I don't believe that that it's in your best interests, right? It's a word that people search for on the internet when they're looking for this kind of information. So that's the word I'm going to have to use for the purposes of this video. But you should think about it not as a relapse back to alcohol again, but as a relapse into your old lifestyle, into your old way of doing things, your behavior, right? It's all, that's what it all boils down to. Without the behavior, without the pattern, without the going to the places and doing the things that you associate with alcohol, you won't drink alcohol ever again, right? If you start bringing new things into your life and you start building up a chain or a framework of behaviors, these behaviors all add up to something different, right? If you build up a framework of alternative behaviors that don't involve alcohol, right? You'll start to see many different changes in your life, many different changes for the good, because the alcohol brings you down all the time. When you're drunk, you are going to take the easiest way out. You're going to look at things of expediency rather than what's good for you, you know, what's the best thing for you to do in this certain situation. Anyway, I'm getting dragged off the topic here. When it comes to the fear of relapsing back into your old life, right? I can't tell you about your own personal thing, right? I don't know you. I don't know your life. I don't know the parts of your life, your behaviors. Only you can do that, right? I can tell you about my own personal self. My fears weren't about ever going back to alcohol. They were that I'd done too much damage, right? That was one of the first things that I feared. They were that I'd be a miserable bastard. I didn't realize. I thought, you know, my life revolved around alcohol, and, you know, part of me feared that that's who I basically was, that person, that drinker. And without that, I'd have no identity, right? But you cannot change and be the same person that you were, right? Change, all the time involves changing into a different person. You have to change who you are in order to change. So, you know, as soon as you start making those changes, you start to construct an alternative core self for yourself, right? A core identity, right? At the beginning, at the middle of everything that we do, there is an identity. There is what we think of ourselves, our beliefs, what we believe to be true. And I'll tell you one thing, most of the beliefs that we have are all based around circumstantial stuff, you know. Your beliefs are one of the most fluid parts of your thinking. You can change your beliefs in a moment, you know, by something that happens. Human beings we've got a frontal cortex, right, which is the last part of the brain that developed. It's the thinking part of the brain. And we've got the capacity to think about something, to think about a concept or a belief, or to understand something without actually doing it. You know, to actually go through it in your head and to think, well, yeah, this is what this is going to be like, and that's what that's going to be like. You know, I've talked about rehearsal, that you can go into your brain before you do something, into your mind, and think out how you're going to say something, how you're going to do something before you actually do it. Your brain doesn't knows the difference. You know the difference between it, but your brain will accept that knowledge, will accept that as part of the learning process, right? So I'm not explaining this. There's so many athletes that do this all the time. There's business people that do this all the time. I'm not sure if it started out in the athletic world. Michael Phelps, I read a book, one of his books lately, and he was talking about this, and he said that before he wins a race, he goes through the race over and over and over in his mind, every stroke of whatever it is, 100-meter butterfly, or, I mean, I'm not a swimmer, so I don't understand these things, but whatever swimming stroke he's doing, he'll start off as he's diving into the pool. He'll go through the swim stroke by stroke until he's at the other end, and then he'll do this for however many lengths he's doing until he wins, and he'll see everything else. He'll see all the other swimmers around him, and he'll see himself beating these people over and over again. And it's a form of mental practice right? If you're doing it physically in the real world, that's practice. Your brain sees it as practice. If you do it inside your brain, your mind sees this also as practice, right? And it gets used to doing it because you're doing it in your brain, right? So what I'm basically trying to tell you is that the main part of this whole thing, this whole process, whether you fear failure, whether you fear relapsing, going back to your old way of doing things, that's all in your head. So the main part of the whole thing is going to be dealt with in how you think things through, right? How you picture things in, this mental rehearsal process that I was talking about, that works in the opposite direction as well. If you see yourself failing, then, you're practicing failure. That's basically what you're doing. So it's your choice whether to practice success, practice saying no, or you practice saying, oh, okay, then I'll take that drink. It's only when you've dealt with that thinking part of it, you've dealt with putting your mind in the right place, then you can start dealing with the environment and the people. These are the three most important aspects of any of this journey, is dealing with your mind first, then dealing with your environment and dealing with the people. You have control in sort of a decreasing levels with these three things. You have the most control in your mind, then your environment, and then the people. So, to ensure that you don't relapse, you have to try and control your environment as much as possible. And you do that by getting rid of the alcohol, getting rid of all the alcohol paraphernalia, avoiding places if you can. If you can't control it, you control it by avoiding. Just don't go into these places. Same with people. The people who are going to consistently, persistently try and influence your decision to stay off drinking, you have to avoid those people if you can. A lot of times you can't, but if you can, you don't have to avoid these people for the rest of your life. Even if it's family members, in those first few days, if people are getting onto your case and they're saying to you, look, what the hell is wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Drinking, you're not an alcoholic, you're not this, you don't have a problem, whatever, right? You've got to move them out of your life for a temporary period, short term, until you've got more control of the other things. And that's what it's about. It's trying to get as much control of the different areas of your life as possible. Because, although you've got a lot of control over your mind, you've got a lot of control over what's going to happen in your head. That's the most control you've got. The other parts of your life, if you let it, can influence that, right? So your environment can influence your brain. People in your life can definitely influence your brain, because they can give you fairly persuasive arguments about the positives of alcohol, And if you're not sufficiently, if you haven't got your determination and your persistence, if they're not sufficiently embedded in your own thinking, then it can be difficult to sort of overcome these persuasions. There's some fairly persuasive people out there, especially in our own lives, people who we look up to, people who we care about, people whose opinion we value. So it's important that you sort of take as much control out of all these three areas as you can. The last line of defense is always going to be you and not putting the alcohol into your mouth, right? That's what it all boils down to. As long as you don't put the shit into your mouth, then it cannot do you any harm. So, regardless of what else, if everything else fails all down the line, if you persist in that stubbornness, be fucking absolutely stubborn on this one, that no matter what happens, you're not going to put the alcohol into your body. If you do that, then you've won. There's no way that you can fail, right? This will guarantee that there's no fear there, because if you persistently, stubbornly refuse to put another drop of alcohol into your brain, into your mouth, then your brain's going to, over time, it's going to develop those new habits that you need. It's going to develop those new behaviors that you need. Whatever it takes to do that, hide under a bed if you have to, do what it takes to not put the alcohol into your body, like I say, that's your last line of defense. You should be doing all the other things as well, It's get your head around these things, get your head prepared for it, get your environment prepared for it, and the people around you, get those prepared for this. And that's where you're going to get a lot of benefit in the beginning. So look, if you've got any questions about this, leave them down below in the comment section. You'll find the audio for this underneath the video on the website, alcoholmastery.com. There's also the free course over there. There's over 80 videos on how to help deal with your stress and how help to deal with your relaxation, help you to channel your energies and to get a bit more relaxation, right? You can get that free by signing up to the newsletter. I'll send you a link out where you can get the course on Udemy for free. Until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Onwards and upwards.